Well, this is Doc T, and I'm going to try to spend very little time and explain to you in this video why leaving grain behind and not feeding your horse excess sugar is going to resolve almost every issue that you see above in the list. And it's very simple, but very seems complicated. So let me just do it this way. Whenever you put sugar in the mouth of your horse, and that means starch from grains, excess hay, sugar treats, apples, and things like that, none of that, none of that sugar that's put into the mouth is ever used for direct fuel in the cells. So if you want your horse to go faster or further or pull heavier weights, adding more sugar will never, ever help that horse do any of those. There are only three things that glucose, sugar, starch, carbohydrates, whatever you want to call it, it's all the same. There's only three places that sugar can go. First is in storage, and that's called glycogen. And glycogen is the storage of glucose in the muscles and in the liver. And the reason glucose is stored is for two reasons. One, when it is needed on an immediate basis, in other words, there's a threat and you have to run, it's going to be used within the muscle cells. And when you have to think and sugar isn't available, the glucose in the liver is released and goes straight to the brain to keep your brain working. The second place that sugar will go, and that we call this glucose disposal, the second place is any excess sugar that's brought into the cell beyond the storage capabilities of glycogen will be thrown into the furnace called the mitochondria and used and burned. It is a poor fuel. It burns at without as much heat. It doesn't produce as much energy, and it produces free radicals, which you can call pollution. The preferred fuel for all muscle cells is fat, triglycerides. It is not sugar. So this concept that you think sugar going into the mouth is going to get to the cell and make them go faster, further, or stronger is erroneous, and you need to erase that. Now, the third and final destination for sugar, there it is, third and final destination for sugar, is when it can't make it into the cells, goes to the fat cell. And within the fat cell, they stuff it, and they keep stuffing it with more and more fat. And so the room just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Just imagine you're sitting in your room alone. Now somebody comes to join you. Okay, that's comfortable. Let's say 20 people come and have a party in the room that you're sitting in right now. Some of you are going to say, hey, it's getting really tight in here. 30, 40, 50, 60 people are crammed into that room. You can't even move anymore. You're inflamed. And it's the inflammation of adding more and more fat inside the body fat, the body fat cell. As you don't make more cells, the cells just become fatter. That releases inflammatory ingredients, cells that create inflammation throughout the body, cells that inflame the lamina of the hooves, inflames everything that's going on in the body. But worse, every time that happens, when you put more sugar into the mouth of the horse, the liver creates more glucose because the insulin isn't allowing the glucose to get to the brain. The insulin is storing his body fat. So you're becoming glucose deficient. And the only way your horse can make glucose is to go to the liver and say, let's make more glucose. And guess what they make it out of? Protein. And those amino acids that make the protein are going to be broken down into sugar, and you're going to keep the sugar going. Why? Because the brain needs sugar 24/7, 365, nonstop. If you don't get sugar to your brain within 10 minutes, you're dead. All right? So the liver is constantly making sugar to keep you going. And that's the whole process. Every time you put sugar into the mouth of your horse or yourself, that glucose is either going to be stored as glycogen, used as a cheap and inexpensive fuel as excess garbage, or 3 is going to be put into body fat. And that's going to cause more and more inflammation. And that, my friends, is the reason why the list is so long of what's going on with your horses and why you need to stop feeding grain. I hope that really puts it in a nutshell. Please read on. Thanks.